want to tell you about a promise I made to myself 5 years ago and how I broke it almost immediately. I told myself, starting Monday, I will study English for 1 hour every single day, no exceptions. I made a schedule, I bought a new notebook. I felt motivated, the kind of motivation that makes you believe this time will be different. Monday went well, 1 full hour. I felt proud. Tuesday, I was tired after work. I studied for 20 minutes and told myself that was close enough. Wednesday, something came up. I skipped it completely and promised myself I would do 2 hours on Thursday to make up for it. Thursday came, I remembered Wednesday, I felt guilty, and somehow that guilt made me want to avoid English completely instead of facing it. So I skipped Thursday too. By the following Monday, my notebook was sitting closed on my desk, and I hadn't touched English in 5 days. The plan that was supposed to transform my English in 1 year had quietly died in less than 2 weeks. I want to ask you something. Has this ever happened to you? My name is Emma, and this is Train Your English Brain. For years, I thought the problem was me. I thought I lacked discipline. I thought other people who learned English successfully simply had more willpower than I did, more time than I did, more motivation than I did. But then I started paying attention to something interesting. The learners who actually succeeded, the ones whose English kept improving year after year, were not the ones doing 1 heroic hour a day. Many of them were doing far less than that. What they had in common was not intensity, it was that they never stopped. There is research on this exact pattern, and it has a name. It's called the compounding effect of consistency. The idea is simple, but easy to underestimate. A small action repeated every day without interruption eventually outproduces a large action repeated occasionally. Not because the small action is more powerful in any single moment, but because it survives. It doesn't depend on motivation, energy, or a perfect schedule. It can happen even on your worst day. This is exactly why my 1 hour plan failed and why something much smaller succeeded later. The thing that actually worked for me started almost by accident. I had a terrible week. Work was overwhelming. I hadn't touched English in days and felt the familiar guilt creeping back in, the same guilt that usually made me give up entirely. But this time, instead of trying to fix everything at once, I told myself something small. Just write one sentence in English today. One sentence about anything. I wrote, "Today was a hard day, but I am still trying." That was it. Less than 10 seconds of effort, but something about it felt different from giving up completely. The next day, I did it again. A different sentence about something small that happened that day. The day after, again. Weeks passed. The habit never felt heavy because it never asked much of me. And here's what surprised me. On most days, one sentence quietly turned into 3 or 4, simply because once I started, stopping felt strange. But on the days I truly couldn't do more, the exhausted days, the chaotic days, I always had enough energy for one sentence, and one sentence was enough to keep the chain alive. I want to explain why this tiny habit works so much better than an ambitious one, because the reason matters more than the habit itself. The first reason is that a small habit removes the decision. When your goal is study for 1 hour, every single day becomes a negotiation with yourself. Do I have time today? Am I too tired? Should I skip today and do extra tomorrow? This constant negotiation is exhausting, and exhaustion is usually what kills a habit long before time ever does. But write one sentence has almost no negotiation built into it. There is no version of your day, even the worst one, where you genuinely don't have 10 seconds for one sentence. The second reason is that a small habit protects your identity as a learner. This sounds abstract, but it matters enormously. Every time you study, even briefly, you are quietly telling yourself a story. I am someone who learns English. Every time you skip a day completely, a different story creeps in. Maybe I am someone who tries and gives up. One sentence a day keeps the first story alive, every single day, without exception. And the story you tell yourself about who you are matters more for long-term progress than almost any single study technique. The third reason is that small actions create momentum that bigger plans cannot. An hour-long study session needs you to already feel motivated before you start. One sentence needs almost nothing. And here's the part most people don't expect. Starting is usually what creates motivation, not the other way around. You don't need to feel ready to write one sentence. You write the sentence, and often, only after starting, the motivation to continue a little further shows up on its own. So here's exactly what I want you to try. Tonight, before you go to sleep, write one sentence in English. It does not need to be about anything important. It does not need correct grammar. It does not need to impress anyone, because no one else needs to see it. Write about your day. Write about how you feel. Write a sentence as simple as, I am tired, but I did this. Tomorrow, do it again. A different sentence. It's fine if it takes you all of 15 seconds. Do not aim for more than this for the first 2 weeks. I know this feels almost too easy, and that feeling of this can't possibly be enough is exactly the trap that destroyed my 1-hour plan years ago. The goal right now is not depth. The goal is to build something that survives your worst days, your busiest weeks, your most exhausted nights. Because here's what I've learned after teaching hundreds of students. The people who reach fluency are rarely the ones who studied the hardest in any single week. They're the ones who simply never had a week where they stopped completely. One sentence is small enough to survive anything life throws at you, and something that survives, even slowly, eventually arrives somewhere far greater than something powerful that quietly dies in 2 weeks. Start tonight. One sentence. That's all I'm asking. My name is Emma. I will see you in the next episode.